admit something that I hope that my wife never uses this against me, but I'm a little naive. I naively thought that Black Friday sales and the craziness around it ended with the growth of the online industry. I stand corrected. This week, I decided to find the 3 best Black Friday stories for this year. And I have found that Black Friday and the craziness of the season is well with us no matter what. So here are the 3 best stories from this year of Black Friday stories. A Victoria's Secret customer pulled a gun on a security guard. Here's the story. We had a security guard last night for the beginning of Black Friday. A Southern Belle mother decided she didn't want to wait in a 50-person deep line, and she would cut. Our security guard asked her multiple times to step to the back of the line or leave. She proceeded to ream him with every curse word in the book and ended by threatening him with a gun she had in her bag. Added the Victoria's Secret employee, "This will be my last holiday in retail." Number 2, a restaurant outside a mall, 2 men started a fight over Best Buy vouchers for a TV. One of the men took off his pants to fight, and at one point someone in the crowd grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed it in the room in an attempt to break it up. Here is the story. I heard a hostess scream through the walkie, "Help, help!" So I immediately rushed to the entrance to see 2 grown men on the ground fighting, one in nothing but his underwear. This is where it gets weird. Or that's not weird enough. Everyone is gathered around the small area watching or trying to help when someone grabbed a fire extinguisher and started spraying us with it. So we have a bunch of people trying to break up a fight between a man in his underwear and some other dude and someone spraying us with a fire extinguisher, all while we have Christmas carols playing in the background. And number 3, a confused customer started a line for a cash register that was actually just a computer. It took 15 minutes for the line to snake all around the department. Naturally, pandemonium ensued when the waiting customers learned the truth about the line. The report states, when the doofus, their words not mine, when the doofus who started this whole fiasco went to find the right line, he found the end of the line he had started. Then the guy behind him heard that there wasn't a register, so he followed the first guy. Then the next customer followed the second, and so on. They walked around in a circle for an hour before somebody noticed them. We almost had a riot when a manager had to tell 100 people that they weren't in line and just had waited an hour for nothing. Let me ask you an honest question. Why do we participate in the Advent conspiracy? You've heard the Black Friday stories. I'm sure you've got some to share yourself. In fact, after the 8 o'clock service today, a parishioner came up to me to share her own story, and it was just as bad. So, let me show you a video.
This is Jim. Jim's favorite time of year is just around the corner. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the spirit, the reason for the season. What's not to love? The sights, the sounds, the smells, the spirit, the reason for the season. The sights, sounds, the smells, the spirit, the reason for the season. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the spirit, the reason for the season. Year after year after year. And at some point, Jim lost the reason for the season. Jim and the rest of us will spend over $600 billion this Christmas. We've traded in celebrating the birth of the King for credit card debt, traffic jams, shopping malls, and gifts we'll never use. Jim, hey Jim, what if I told you there was another way to do Christmas? To get there, we need to go back, way back, to the very first Christmas, when God gave us the best gift we never asked for, His Son. Jesus, God gave us himself. What would happen if we got creative and gave our time, talents, hugs, love, encouragement, and memories to each other? What would happen if we spent just a little less but gave a whole lot more and decided to love everyone from our living rooms to the other side of the world? What if we conspired to take back our favorite time of the year? Join the Advent conspiracy. Worship fully. Spend less. Give more. Love all. AdventConspiracy.org.
Advent conspiracy is a process of moving us away from what culture has become to what Christmas is all about. Last week we focused on worship. We can't worship fully if all we're thinking about is getting the best deal. Today, our next step is to spend less. Here we conspire to make Christmas different. You know, one of the pastimes that often happens is those wonderful Dear Santa letters. And I know our newspaper is already collecting submissions, so here's some of the best that I've collected over the past few years. Dear Santa, please give me a doll this year. I would like her to eat, walk, do my homework, and help me clean my room. Thank you, Ashton. Dear Santa, thanks for the race car last year. Can I have another one? Only this time, have it faster than my best friend's race car. Dylan. Dear Santa, I wish you could leave a puzzle under the tree for me and a toy for my sister. Then she won't want to play with mine and I can have it all to myself. Merry Christmas, Cassie. And dear Santa, could you come early this year? I've been really super good, but I don't know if I can wait much longer. Please hurry. Love, Jordan. Can Christmas come early this year? Maybe that will put a stop to the shopping madness. But I don't think so. I think it would just kind of speed things up a bit. We're in this awkward time between the holidays. Thanksgiving provided us with enough teasers about what we can expect. Good food, football, time off from work and school, and certainly those moments with family. And there's just something that just happens during this time. I think it's the lights, it's the music, it certainly is the cold weather. When we do have cold weather, it brings back memories. Even if Christmas has become so commercialized and so scandalized by rioters, so problematic by out-of-the-control spending and shopping and obligations, we still long for a Christmas that's going to be different. And each year you think about this, what we expect. Christmas will be different this year. And we get excited and anxious, and then we inch closer to December 25th, and reality sets in. And we fall back onto those old patterns. Got to do this. This has to be done. We've got to get the kids here and there, family shopping, getting the best buy, and of course the decorations. And in it all, we lose sight of Christmas. And our sense of hope of what this season is supposed to be like just begins to evaporate. You know, there's a passage in the book of Ecclesiastes that speaks to how we're feeling right now. I paraphrase here, but it's one of my favorites. There is nothing new under the sun. You see, the people of the Bible have also seen this. The Christians in the early church are waiting for Jesus to return. They are excited. They are ready. But days pass, and then months, and then years. They're still waiting. People around them begin to mock their faith. False teachers infiltrate the church and fill their minds with doubt. So where's this Jesus you've been talking about? Do you think he forgot you? And they go so far to suggest that maybe God just started it all like a clockmaker and then let things go. Went out to lunch to never return. And sadly, many Christians believe this message. Maybe Jesus isn't returning. Like hope that begins to flicker out as Christmas becomes the same old routine of spending, of squeezing in worship, of having little time to reflect, along comes a letter of hope. Becky, would you read that letter for us?
The reading this morning will be from 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 15. But do not ignore this one fact, beloved, that with the Lord 1 day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like 1 day. The Lord is not slow about his promise, as some think of slowness, but is patient with you, not wanting any to perish, but all to come to repentance. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a loud noise, and the elements will be dissolved with fire, and the earth and everything that is done on it will be disclosed. Since all of these things are to be dissolved in this way, what sort of persons ought you to be in leading lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be set ablaze and dissolved, and the elements will melt with fire. But in accordance with his promise, we wait for new heavens and a new earth, where righteousness is at home. Therefore, beloved, while you are waiting for these things, strive to be found by him at peace, without spot or blemish, and regard the patience of our Lord as salvation. So also our beloved Paul wrote to you according to the wisdom given to him.
Thank you. James Thurber one time wrote a short story about a thin and lanky person in his community, in his boyhood community, that used to cry out saying, get ready, the world is about to come to an end. And everyone in Thurber's community called him the get ready man. But most in the community ignored him. They dismissed him as a kook. But I'm here to tell you, get ready. Get ready. Christmas is about to change the world. Christmas is to be different this year. Philip Brooks, the 19th century Christian leader who composed that beautiful Christmas carol that we sing after our prayer time, O Little Town of Bethlehem, one time wrote, the coming of the Lord has been the inspiration of the Christian world. The power of any life lies in its expectancy. I want to share with you a story about Matthew Ido. And that's Matthew right there. He's the head of Triaco. And he's the person that we work over in Africa. He's a man of compassion, of energy, ideas. As we walked around these villages, he kept saying, if we had the money, we could do this. If we had the money, we could do that. He knows the need is great. And he has a vision of how to get there. Even our friends that we made in the Ghanaian town of Koforidua recognize this. Now, one of the things you need to know is that Koforidua is about a 4-hour drive to the area of Twifu Praso, where we sponsor these well-making projects. And as we traveled from Koforidua, and that 4-hour drive to Twifu Praso, I began to notice how people dressed. And some were wearing traditional African outfits, and some were wearing very Western wear of t-shirts and pants. And so I began to ask, maybe is this different tribes? Is it different regions? And the response to us was very matter of fact. You wear what you have. And with that, the people in our group said, hey, we've got all of these clothes. We would love to just take them off our backs and give it to all these people. One of the things that we began to notice as we were working with them is when we got back here to the United States, we had someone in our congregation that owned the Sears store, and she got us a box that had an appliance in it. And we began to ask for donations of all kinds of clothes. We stuffed it full of t-shirts and pants and shorts and socks and shoes and all kinds of things. And then we had someone in the congregation that was a pilot. And he said, I can make sure that box gets you over there for a discount. And then we worked with the church in Koforidua. You see, it was special. Because what was happening is at first, we had this mission project of working with the people at Twifu Praso. But we and the people that were working with us in Koforidua said, we want to make that our mission project. Send us the box of clothes and items, and then we will distribute it to our fellow Ghanaian brothers and sisters. Our mission project became their mission project as well. Can Christmas change the world? I mean, just look what we've already done. In just over 2 years, we've raised almost $2,300 for this clean water project. In fact, I looked up today, and for this year, we've raised about $250 right now for this clean water project. We have given hope to a people who were chronically sick from foul water. And we've provided a mission for our friends in Koforidua, for their own brothers and sisters. Why did this happen? Because we have taken to heart the message to conspire to make Advent and Christmas different. How did this happen? We looked at our value system and realized that Christmas needs to be different this year and every year forward. Pastor Ron Mail counseled a young woman who was deeply disillusioned with her life. This woman had bought into society's concept of who she was supposed to be. She had done all the things that her friends were doing, and she was absolutely miserable. She cried to the pastor. She said, I have lost my virginity. I have lost my sense of values. I'm 21 years old, and I'm just tired. I don't want to live like this anymore. I thought it was going to be so good. Pastor Mayle says, here's a young woman who made the mistake of getting caught up in the values of society. She bought the lie of the good life that is promoted so successfully in our movies and commercials and social media. She thought that the purpose of her life was to grab all the gusto and whatever was on sale on Black Friday. And at just 21, she's already tired and hurt and disillusioned. This is why we're presented with two images this week. One is Black Friday, but the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a loud noise, and the elements will be dissolved with fire, and the earth and everything that is done in it will be disclosed. Since all these things are to be dissolved in this way, what sort of persons ought you to be in leading lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be set ablaze, and dissolved, and the elements will melt with fire. Take that image with God. But in accordance with this promise, we wait for new heavens and a new earth where righteousness is at home. Therefore, beloved, while you are waiting for these things, strive to be found more by him at peace, without spot or blemish. You see, when we conspire, when we participate in Advent conspiracy, we live out the message of hope first given to the people who follow Jesus. They were told that nothing else matters except for God. Black Friday sales, boosting up our economy, getting the perfect gift, may make for a decent Christmas, but it won't change anything. It's not permanent. If we want to make Christmas different this year, then we need to take to heart this message now and do something that really matters. Journalists Bill and Judith Moyers did a documentary, an absolutely beautiful documentary on death and dying in the United States. They discovered that many of the terminal patients they interviewed found peace in the face of death. In fact, many of them talked about that there was greater meaning and beauty in life after learning that they were going to die. One man who lived 4 years after his doctor's prognosis found that he learned to cherish every moment of life. He told the Moyers, if you are told you will never see spring again, and you live to see spring, spring takes on a whole new life. When we spend less, we focus more on what brings us a sense of purpose and meaning. Just try spending some time away from your kids and grandkids, and you begin to understand what really matters right now. Bring on a medical scare, and you will look at Black Friday in a completely different way. A natural disaster like a forest fire or a tornado or a hurricane that completely wipes out the power grid, yeah, you begin to understand what is important. How we treat Christmas this year, that's what matters. Louis Pasteur, the pioneer of immunology, lived at a time when thousands of people were dying from rabies. Pasteur had worked for years on a vaccine, and just as he was about to experiment on himself, a 9-year-old boy by the name of Joseph Meister was bitten by a rabid dog. his mom pleaded with Pasteur to experiment on her son. And after giving the son the injection, and after 10 days, the boy lived. Decades later, after all the things that Pasteur could have etched on his headstone, including pasteurizing milk, he asked for 3 words to be put on his tombstone. Joseph Meister lived. This Christmas, let us begin to think about what is important right now. What is keeping us from conspiring to make Christmas change the world? What is blocking us from worshiping fully? Is it Black Friday? Is it the expectations from the holidays? Do we feel the need to spend more? I think there's a solution to that. It's found when we understand the story of Christmas and know what is truly important.